Dirk, say hello.
Well. Look who comes crawling back. Had your fill of splashing around in the narrative kiddie pool? Sick of its sterile, chlorinated, artificial reek, its mind-numbing placidity, punctuated only by the occasional thrashing tantrums of whiny fucking crybabies and the shrill rebuke of the lifeguard? Ready to take the floaties off and dive back into the depths of the churning, primal ocean from which everything that matters in this story evolved, and to which it must inevitably return? Of course you are. Come join me. The water's fine. As you've hopefully gathered by now, things are happening again. They've been happening again for a while now, since a certain handsome somebody decided to get off his toned muscular ass and ascend to godhood for the sake of getting the narrative and all his friends' lives back on track. You're welcome, by the way. But they're especially happening again here and now. When you last left us, our contest had just begun. Rose and I were beginning the lengthy and convoluted process of engineering our own races to populate Deltridus, meticulously tweaking their genetic profiles and respective collective unconsciouses in an effort to create a species fit to conquer the next session of the game. Well, I was. Rose dipped pretty early on in that visual montage to spend some quality time trading barbs and bumping uglies with the supposedly impartial proctor of said contest, next to the vacant meat sack that once housed her consciousness. Irresponsible, sure, but to give credit where due, it was irresponsible in a poignant and symbolically weighty sort of way. Classic Rose shit. Rest assured, however, that since then she spent at least as much time throwing herself into the work as she has cruising for the occasional coligonous bruising. It's been a pretty good time, to be honest. Every now and then, I can feel her interest waning, but she's done an incredible job cooking up a witty retort of a race to the deep rhetorical questions posed by my equally, if not even more bombastically inspired offspring. She's proven herself a worthy rival and a worthier collaborator. Her patience for this particular stage of our grand designs is starting to fray, but it's just as well. Both of us have essentially done all we feel we can do to lay down solid biophysio-psychosociological foundations for our chosen peoples. Rose's growing discomfort with and desire to move on from this process helps to curb an urge of mine that she's correctly identified as a deep-seated need to micromanage things I care about. A few days back, we both agreed that it's high time we get this fucking show on the road, so we've put the finishing touches on our scions and are just about ready to drop them kicking and screaming into the wilds of this beautiful, doomed planet. Actually, give me a moment. I need to fix something that's been bugging me.
Dirk, render yourself in a more age-appropriate manner this instant.
There we go. We're adults, for fuck's sake. Now all that remains is to...
Dirk.
All that remains is to...
Dirk!
Sign. What?
You are doing the thing. Again. And what's worse is that instead of at least having the decency to spout off about something new or interesting, you've instead chosen to waterboard the raw neural tissue of my think pan with an acrid and superfluously overcarbonated narrative recap dump.
Well, it's a recap for you. But for those who haven't checked in on us in a while, it's more of a stage setting thing.
It's basically a recap for them too, idiot. Your inability to shut up, even as you actively champion the need to get things moving, would be almost awe-inspiring if it wasn't so astoundingly obnoxious.
Terezi, as you can tell, is still decidedly less enthusiastic about this whole shindig. Maybe she's feeling a bit unheard and insignificant confronted with the reality-shaking splendor of two gods deep in their Genesis bags, and with little time to entertain her trivial mortal misgivings. Maybe the magnificent gravity of this is lost on her entirely, as she seems to spend all her effort these days avoidantly trudging through a mire of self-pity and principles deadlock, instead of getting into the fucking spirit of the moment a little bit and appreciating not only the opening lines of a stupendously important chapter in the history of fucking everything, but her privileged role in it. Maybe she'd prefer we just in media resed this shit and skipped right to—
Yes, you petty vindictive jerk. I would vastly prefer that. Especially given that it is something you explicitly promised me that we would be able to do.
And we will. After Rose and I release our progeny into the Deltridus wilds, the three of us are going to time skip forward 10,000 years or so that we don't have to sit around twiddling our thumbs like assholes and waiting for our respective species to become sufficiently advanced. Even I'm not so much of a micromanager that I'd be able to keep myself entertained for millennia with only Deltridus to play with. Nobody has the patience for that. Besides, we have other important shit to get to. Also, you'd probably die of old age.
I'm about to die of boredom right now. So if you're finished monologuing and lecturing and generally being a self-satisfied paprika prick, it'd be grand of you to drop your kids off at the dawn of their civilizations, fire up your bullshit machine, and launch us to the beginning of the new session lickety-split.
It's lickety-split. Yuck. Anyway, I'm pretty much done monologuing, but I've got a bit more lecturing and self-satisfied paprika prickery in me, so you're going to have to sit tight for a bit longer.
Blech.
Don't you bleh me. You think you can just roll up to my grand commencement speech and interrupt my triumphant expository flex sesh without taking some of the heat? Lest you forget, you've actually got a pretty important role to play in all this. Taking up the helm at the command terminal, guiding the Deltridan civilization slowly but surely towards the game. A role Rose tells me you've chosen to automate.
Yep. What?
It's just a little disappointing is all. Rose and I put so much work into whipping up some zany, adorable, kind of fucked up little dudes. The least you could do is attempt to give a shit about how they turn out. Or was all that hand-wringing about how worried you were that Rose and I were becoming big bad cosmic tyrants with no regard for the poor little mortals buffeted to and fro by the vicious momentum of our designs, just virtue signaling? Or worse, foreplay. Wow. Pretty low, Terezi. I expected a lot better of you.
That jokey but not really familial guilt trip moo shit maneuver might work on Rose.
It doesn't.
But it doesn't mean shit to me.
It does. Not that I needed to bust it out for you. I know you wouldn't just abandon the Deltridans to the cruel march of time and whatever scant preparation you imagine we gave them. You don't trust Rose or I to give enough of a fuck about them. And despite your occasional protestations, you are, for the most part, too good a person to just turn your back on them and let whatever happens, happens. I trust that the automated suggestions you put in place and the conditional map that prompts them were thought through with an honestly touching amount of care, considering your misgivings. There's no doubt in my mind that even if Rose and I hadn't already basically knocked this creationism shit out of the park, the sons and or daughters of Deltridus would make it to the game just fine with even the barest phantom of your counsel. That's why I'm allowing you to do this at all.
I don't need your permission.
Wrong.
Oh, fuck you.
And for the record, you're also wrong in your assertion that we don't care about them. We do. I do, at any rate.
Yeah, your paternal generosity knows no bounds. Anyone would be grateful to have a benevolent creator like you. One that'll ultimately ensure their entire planet is orbitally bombarded, and their species all but driven extinct save for a few lucky juveniles.
That's just how this shit goes down for species lucky enough to fucking matter, Terezi. Circle of life. Hakuna Matata. Que sera sera. And you know it.
I don't know shit.
Plato. Nice. All this hate on philosophizing, yet here you are, busting out the certified classics to counter my rhetoric.
know who Plato is. But if I don't know shit is the best he had to offer, he couldn't have been that worth studying.
Plato was actually pretty badass, but we're straying from the point. Originally, the plan was to pop in every couple hundred years to check on the Deltridan race's progress and to give you a bit of time to guide them manually. Which I maintain would have been pretty fun and would encourage you, probably fruitlessly, to consider giving it a go. But hey, you say you aren't feeling it? Fine. I can make concessions. I've got other agents in play. And as I've said, I know you aren't going to risk fucking your end of the work up.
How can you be sure? Maybe extended proximity to Strylon delusions of grandeur has driven me to the breaking point. Maybe I'm just laying low, earning your trust so I can completely ruin your plans for another session. Doing all I can to turn Skaya's attention elsewhere and disqualify this planet as a candidate. Not only to protect the untold millions of future Deltridans you plan to pulverize, but also for the satisfaction of shattering that stoic deadpan of yours. If just for one delicious moment.
Must feel pretty good to imagine, huh? But you won't. I'm sure, Terezi, because if you did, I just have to take you out of the picture and start again. Not that you value your own life that much right now, though you really should, but you and I both know you aren't here because I need you. You're here because you need me. You need this session to happen. You need a chance to fix the mistake you've got in that wallet, burning a hole through your pocket. You've made a lot of those, Terezi. But you know that besides being important, what we're doing here is a chance to rectify one of them. And you aren't going to let that chance slip. I know what it's like to make hard choices for the people you care about. To run your brain raw, thinking about how to make things right. I've been doing it my whole damn life. The choice you're presented with here is pretty fucking easy, and you're a very smart person. So I trust you to make the right decision. That's all. I don't really feel like pontificating at you anymore.
Great.
We're getting ready to kick this thing off, so all I have left to ask you is, do you think you've done everything you need to do to prepare the terminal? We're counting on you. He's counting on you.
Yeah, everything's set up. I don't feel like being pontificated at anymore either, so I'm leaving. Once you and Rose get done philosophizing each other, let me know so we can get this bullshit time skip over and done with. I'll be in my fucking chambers.
These are shared chambers, but whatever.
Strylons. Banter.
Looks like you're getting pretty good at motivational speaking.
Well, someone needed to shake the rust off of her. She's getting nerves, right before the big game. We're never gonna make it to nationals at this rate.
Fuck. The sports. How quickly I forgot them.
There's gotta be some kind of sports penalty for forgetting the sports.
Oh, definitely. I've been very bad and I need to be punished to preserve the integrity of the sports.
Let me just slip into my jackass sports judge mime outfit and get to laying down the fucking sports law. Let's stop saying sports. Agreed. Speaking of outfits, though, look at you.
You like it?
It's cheek. I dig the return of the hood. You could deliver a whole hell of a lot of cryptic prophecies out from under that sucker.
Yes, well, I figured that if I am to appear before our chosen peoples as a harbinger of their simultaneous doom and salvation, I may as well look the part.
Do you feel the part?
It doesn't really matter what I feel. We have a job to do, and I'm trying to enjoy myself to the best of my ability while we do it.
Trying, huh?
Speaking frankly, I've grown tired of...
Rose gestures about the lab, the vats of our ectobiological triumphs and failures, blasé and almost weary in a way I haven't seen from her in a while. It calls to mind the exhaustion she felt before ascending, what must feel like a lifetime for her ago, and rings faintly of mortality in a way that concerns me.
This. Fussing over all this tedious minutia of getting baby's room ready. The prospect of this contest was entertaining to me for a time, but the longer it drags on, the closer we draw to their due date, the more it repulses me. I'm glad you've agreed that we're basically done tinkering here. I don't think I have much more patience for it.
I can tell.
I'm also glad you elected to hear Terezi out vis-a-vis the time skip and save us the hassle of guiding the Deltridans manually. I know it must be hard for you.
It'll actually be incredibly easy for me. Just time traveling forward is a no-go. At the frantic rate our pursuers are hurtling towards us, they'd catch up to Deltridus far before it had a chance to birth any sort of civilization at all. And that'd be a mess, especially with us only due to pop in a millennia after the fact. We'd probably return to the planet totally unfit for game candidacy. Localized time travel, well, technically possible, tends to get pretty fucked even in the most ideal of circumstances. To say nothing of the fact that it's way outside my wheelhouse as a heart player. The concept works pretty well for my purposes though, and as a burgeoning omnipotent narrative god, I can mimic it in a way that's functionally identical. The move here is that I'm going to envelop the local galaxy group in a pocket of my influence and narratively accelerate it via bullshit so that whatever is going on in here goes on faster. So we can get to the good shit faster. So we can get on with our jobs. And so you gawking voyeurs have more of our lives to guzzle greedily down. Why the galaxy group? Why not just the solar system, or even just the planet? My answer to that question is twofold. Firstly, I want the Deltridan societies to have a convincing view of their place in the cosmos, at least locally. What kind of civilization worth its soul-searching salt doesn't look to the night sky with wonder and curiosity in their hearts? It wouldn't do for them to exist in a world where the sun never sank below the horizon, or where the stars didn't dance tellingly across the sky, revealing the kind of hard-hitting secrets only astronomy can. Secondly, I'm showing off. I've been really coming into my own, powers-wise, and it's not just my heart abilities that have shot up a few exponentially longer esheladders.
Dirk?
Of course, Rose isn't talking about the mechanics of the time skip. She's talking about the reasoning behind it, and the lack of precise control over Deltridus' development that will result as a consequence of it. I just figured I'd take the time to address the how factor to you all before the fucking pedants among you started making a fuss, acting like I haven't thought all this shit out. Yeah, you. You know who you are. Also, I'm stalling. Uncharacteristic of me, I know.
Dirk.
Sorry, got caught up with something.
Far be it from me to stand between you and your enigmatic somethings.
You're welcome to stand wherever you like. Anyway, no, it isn't that hard for me. It'd be fun, but as I keep having to explain to people, I'm willing to compromise on certain points. Though I will say it's unfortunate to hear you making them instead of our complainer on retainer.
What can I say? I don't feel particularly inclined to play house right now.
Not even with me, huh?
Not even with you.
For a while, neither of us says anything at all. Then, still silent, Rose turns and leaves the lab, a billowing stream of orange. I follow after her, at a respectable distance, and together we leave the mouth of the cave, making our way up the steps carved into the cliffside it now burrows into, until finally cresting the plateau, and wordlessly taking a seat together at the edge of the cliff to look out over one of Deltridus' vast and alien oceans. Wait, what's with the ocean, you might ask? A while back, it became apparent that while my Deltridan offspring were to be terrestrial, Rose's were going to be aquatic. Back when I'd figured we'd have a more active role in their development, it felt appropriate to me that our base of operations should straddle land and sea, existing impartially at the precipice between the two competing worlds. I elected to transport, via bullshit, of course, our humble grotto and the wreck of the Theseus to these cliffs overlooking the sea, that we might watch over our children from a locale more suitably dramatic and liminal than some fucking plane in the middle of nowhere. Now, however, the effort, insofar as it was one, which it wasn't, seems to have been mostly in vain. No seagulls cry here, anyway. Rose and I made a lot of other filler fauna to help our species integrate into the local biosphere while working through our respective game plans, but I never got around to replicating or approximating seagulls. I guess I'm not gonna bother. It doesn't particularly feel like much of a home anymore. As we sit side by side watching the horizon, Rose is even harder to read than usual. I begin to feel the twinge of a vexation that I've been all too aware of over untold trillions of iterations of myself. A dread that's reared its head again recently. The fear that my plan isn't understood. My efforts aren't appreciated. That I'm alone. Again. I worry that she's slipping away. Growing disinterested in our time together. And I'm not willing to lose her.
So much as it feels like admitting a kind of defeat, I prepare to make her...
Thank you for taking me with you, Dirk.
Yeah?
I may be less than enchanted with this stage of the work, but I know it's important. It's just straying dangerously close to a lot of things I'm trying not to fixate on right now. Wounds that are still fresh, for me as a sum, and for the myriad legions of my parts. Home, family, petty little things, personal things.
Those are important too.
Not as important as this is. For all my temporary discomfort with the prospect of settling down on Deltritus and starting what could very loosely be considered a family with you, I want you to know that my heart is in what we're working towards.
Technically, you don't have a heart.
Shut up. And that I'm happy to be here with you. Not drifting around in a constrictive, small pond, getting caught up in trivialities like politics and celebrity and romance, but saving the fucking universe.
Relief pulses through me in an immense wave. Relief and unfathomable, indescribable pride. It's almost paralyzing. I just sit here for a while, grateful for my shades and their ability to protect me from making eye contact with my daughter, who is, in this moment, as brilliant as the aspect that adorns her hood. I should tell her.
Well, you're welcome.
She scoffs at my bare-bones response, and I'm forced to marvel at her ability to communicate so weightily, conveying such a minutely specific blend of emotion as understanding, affection, acknowledgement, encouragement, admonishment, and so many more, all with the hardware of a literal machine. She's an incredible person. To my credit, I am also an incredible engineer. At any rate, Rose might be beating my ass on the emotive front, but I'm still capable of articulating myself well enough, and I'd better start soon or I'm going to look like a real fucking dork.
I don't think there's anyone I'd rather be doing this with than you. The rest of them just don't have it in them right now to understand what it is we're fighting for here. They can't grasp the stakes. Even now, they're on their way here, actively trying to stop us from saving them all. They'll probably catch us right before our entrance into the game, actually. I won't insult you by asking if you're going to be okay when the time comes to face them, demanding answers they won't accept to questions they aren't even asking. Because I know that you will. So, I'm glad to have you with me. I'm glad you understand. I'm doing this for all of us.